All right, hey again, everyone. Channel Futures editorial director Craig Galbraith here. It's time for another edition of Channel Futures TV. Joining me today is Seamus Lennon. Seamus is Vice President of Operations for EMEA with ThreatLocker. Seamus, how are you today?
Good. Have me on, Craig.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. So excited to talk to you. Want to start by talking a little bit about zero trust. I know that's ThreatLocker's bread and butter. Many companies might talk about it, but few really implement it effectively. So how does ThreatLocker's approach go beyond traditional security measures, and what makes your solution uniquely effective in stopping cyber threats before they execute?
Well, it's funny you ask that. What makes the solution more effective, or what makes the company more effective? I've been in IT for over 25 plus years, a long time now. And I've come across a lot of security solutions. And like all companies, we, implement it and we say, hey, that's a great security solution, or that's a great BPOS solution, or a great, ERP solution. Let's take it, let's implement it. We go ahead and we probably implement about 10% of it. And that's about it. The shiny bit is the reason why we got it, or why we thought we got it, and that's it. With ThreatLocker, we're slightly different as a company that, as a partner of ThreatLocker, when anybody comes on board with ThreatLocker, those companies are assigned what we call a solution engineer. Your solution engineer helps you and guides you implement zero trust security to its fullest across the board, across all the platform. There is no limit on interactions with your engineers. So, it can be available daily, twice, weekly, monthly, yearly, quarterly. As many of you guys need that time, we give it to our customers. So we don't do professional services. That's all part and package with ThreatLocker. That helps our clients get the security that they need and the reason for coming to us in the first place.
So let's talk about default deny. I've been hearing a lot about that lately. ThreatLocker known for that approach, obviously, with its application allow listing. Can you explain how this proactive security model differs from traditional antivirus and EDR solutions, and why organizations should prioritize it?
Yeah, well, look, ThreatLocker's mission, our end goal, is to change the paradigm of endpoint security from a default allow solution to a default deny solution. What I mean by that is, if you look at your traditional antivirus, what that's looking for is known threats. And what it does is it allows everything to run in the hope that it's going to catch something bad that's running. So a detection response will look at something that happens after the fact. And if it detects that something potentially malicious is happening, it's going to stop it after the fact. We come from the other side and say, okay, well, what if we only allow what we need to run that we trust, and we block everything? By blocking everything, we're not having to constantly look at malicious software, malicious tools, look at in-depth analysis of applications, but we're simply just blocking everything. The good, the bad, and most importantly, the malicious software from running in the environment.
That is a great approach, Seamus. So ransomware, it continues to evolve. Attackers are always finding new ways to bypass defenses. How does ThreatLocker ring fencing and storage control help organizations prevent these threats from executing rather than just detecting after the fact?
Application allow listing is around attackers' notice. So if an attacker gets into an organization where they're implementing some sort of application allow listing in place, what they'll use is what we call living off the land techniques. In other words, use any application available on that endpoint in that point in time to their advantage. In a Windows environment, the number one has got to be PowerShell, utilized in over 60% of publicized ransomware attacks every single year. You can use PowerShell to encrypt data, PowerShell to exfiltrate data, combine it with other tools. You can remote execution of code from the internet with PowerShell. This is where ring fencing comes in. So what we say is, when we've allowed our applications to run, we further restrict and control what they can and cannot do utilizing ring fencing. So that be application interaction, data access, network or internet access for each and every application. Effectively, it stops those trusted applications from being weaponized in our environment.
All right, I want to take a minute to drill down in the channel a little bit. ThreatLocker obviously has become a go-to solution for managed service providers in particular and enterprises. What challenges do these groups face in securing endpoints, and how does ThreatLocker help them achieve a higher level of control and compliance?
Well, you just said control and compliance, and that's the thing. By default, a lot of companies will say, oh, well, look, we've removed end users' admin rights, so they're no longer a local admin. That does not stop them from installing applications. You could pick 80% of the Microsoft store and install it without having admin rights. You can run standalone applications. You can install thousands and thousands of browser extensions that have access to your data and passwords without having admin rights. Without having that control in place and controlling what's running in your environment, that risk is huge. So by implementing those zero trust methods and controlling what does running in your endpoints, it gives the IT teams that control back in their park where they can actually assess. So if a new software comes out, let's assess it first, see what it interacts with, see what it needs, and then give it the access that it requires, but nothing else.
All right, Seamus, cybersecurity is really interesting industry to be in because the landscape, it's always changing. So what are some emerging threats that businesses should be preparing for now? And how is ThreatLocker staying ahead of the curve with new innovation?
The cybersecurity landscape is always changing. Once a security company thinks it's ahead of the game, attackers just change and pivot. And that's the game of cybersecurity. It's always going to be ever changing. And with ThreatLocker, every single year we introduce new innovative modules to our agent. This year, some of those would have been web control, which is a content filter. Basically, a content filter stops end users from going to websites we don't want them to go to. Look, let's face reality. Ransomware just doesn't appear on end users' devices. It basically is introduced by a user. So if we can control where they're going, we can stop that ransomware from getting on the device in the first place, or trying to get onto the device in the first place. On top of that, we also introduced a conditional access for our cloud environment. So this basically essentially means that if I'm on a ThreatLocker protected device, be it an endpoint or be it my mobile device, I can access my Microsoft 365 environment. If I'm not, I cannot. So even if I was to fall victim of a fancy phishing attack and my credentials were stolen without MFA, or even if they were able to steal my token, it means they cannot access any of my Microsoft environment whatsoever. So again, it keeps us safe. I've been with the company a number of years, and every single year we introduce new innovative models and modules to ThreatLocker to help enhance the security offering that we have, and obviously try to keep ahead of the game when it comes to cybersecurity threats.
Absolutely. Seamus, thanks for joining me on Channel Futures TV and getting me all caught up on everything happening at ThreatLocker. It's going to be a busy rest of the year.
It is indeed. Thank you very much for having me on, Craig. Appreciate it.